I'll start with injury news. Anything to report?
Yes, we have actually. Richard Brinley has been feeling some discomfort with his groins. He felt it after the Havant game. He's felt it for a few times, and on getting him looked at in an ultrasound scan, it looks like he's got a couple of little tears in and around his groins that are causing the problem. So there's a chance Brins certainly will have to be rehabilitated for the short term. Maybe the next 3 or 4 weeks, which isn't ideal with the amount of games we've got coming up. So it's one that we're looking at and whether we need to do anything with it. But at the moment, Brins is one that's going to have to be sort of pushed to the side for the short term.
Okay, I want to go back a week to Dagenham because we've not had a chance to talk to you since that crazy game. Are you still on a high from what you saw?
No, to be honest with you, I never really got to enjoy it as much as I should. Even after the game, I had some other bits and bobs personal that I had to deal with after the game. So I never even got to sit really in the manager's office and have a beer and take in all the highs of what had happened and the few days following it. So yeah, I haven't really. I've heard that it's gone a little bit mad on social media and everyone's been enjoying it. So it's good because that's what football's about. Obviously we're here to win and we're here to do good stuff, but sometimes you need sort of stories that go away from the norm and a normal victory, and that certainly was one.
Is Doyle asking to be your backup keeper now?
Well, he started now giving opinions on starting positions from goalies and whether the Liverpool goalie could have done better at the weekend and stuff like that. So he's quite opinionated anyway, but he's now thrown in goalies into the mix.
I think Charlie Slater touched on this post-game, and I just wondered whether you've changed your mind, and I'm sure you haven't, but has what happened in that game changed your mind about putting a keeper on the bench at any time?
No, I'll put a goalie on the bench if I think that the goalie that's in goal has got an injury worry. So if Sam Slocum had a muscle slight tweak or stiffness or was a concern, or Luke Pilling was, then I would consider doing it if there was a concern in the first place. But if the goalie was fit, really then you've got to be confident that he'll be able to get through the game, and it's only a sending off that you'd need to be concerned with. And like I say, I would have a goalie on the bench if I could have 7 subs, but I just don't see how I can cover centre half and full back and midfield and have the options to change a game with wingers and centre forwards if I need to.
We've all been talking about Michael Doyle, but it strikes me Luke Pilling's gone under the radar slightly. This is a great chance for him in the next 3 matches.
It's a squad game. We've used the squad over the course of the season, and a number of players have played and done well. Luke's come in the cup games and done really, really well. He trains really, really well every week. He's obviously younger and less experienced than Sam, and this is going to do him some good. But if I go on training and his shot stopping ability and stuff, we're going to have no problems at all.
Let's look now at the weekend. We'll start with that. What about Kings Lynn? Just talk us through the challenges they will pose.
Well, they're not on a great run. They've lost their last 3 games, I think, and obviously they've come up. They started the season really well. They've tapered off a tiny bit, but it's always difficult. They've changed their shape quite a lot during different games. If you go through 3 or 4 of their last 5 games, they've played different shapes in all of them. So I try not to get bogged down with what shape we're going to come up against and what the opposition will bring. We'll do that in our video analysis tomorrow, and then when the game starts and the team selection comes in, we'll have to do our bit. Any game away from home's hard to win. As we all know, teams tend to have a knack of being up for trying to beat Notts County. It's a good feather in their cap, so we have to be prepared for that every week.
That's a very good point, actually. Despite this being your second season in the National League, do you still feel like you're the feather in the cap to many of those teams?
Yeah, absolutely do. It's a big game against a good team with lots of good players in it, and teams want to get one over on what's considered to be one of the stronger teams in the league. And I do feel perhaps the same with Stockport, and certainly at the moment with Torquay with their form. They're 3 teams that teams kind of set up to make sure that they try and do one over on, and that's even with teams like Sutton going under the radar, who are like a winning machine at the moment.
With the situation you're in at the moment, it's hard to assess form. Clearly, you're in good form, but it's so stop-start. But would you say you're in the best shape you've been at since you've been in the National League for this season and a half?
I think so. I think we're in the best shape physically we've been all season, because that period through December where we wasn't getting enough games, we worked the boys quite hard. And I feel we're starting to see the rewards of that. I think that we're going to need to be fit to get through the games we've got, and I think they're in a good place. But I do feel, earlier in the season I was just trying to, as a manager, just capture that something that we had at the back end of last season, and I wasn't feeling it post Christmas within the squad. I'm feeling it at the moment. It feels like the boys are in a really good place. It feels like everybody is bringing to the party, and everybody is the team's coming first in everybody's mind, and I feel like we've got what it takes to have a really strong second half of the season here.
I feel like you're used to this now, having late postponements, but I wonder that the Wrexham game on Saturday, how much did it wreck your plans with what you were meant to be doing over the coming days and previous days, or how much could you just adapt quickly to it and it is what it is?
Well, it was difficult. We had to train indoors Thursday and Friday because the pitches were frozen. Even though we had frost sheets on our training pitch, it was frozen. I heard people had asked why we couldn't reverse the fixture. Well, our pitch was virtually frozen at the end of the Dagenham game Tuesday night, so we couldn't get the sheets down in time to stop anything. So if Wrexham was going to be off and they had their sheets down Monday, we was never going to be able to get ours on. So it's been difficult, having the game called off Friday afternoon. We had nowhere to train really. Every pitch was frozen, our ground was frozen. So we had to decide to sort of try and tweak what we would do and what the boys needed to do, because we needed to get some distance into their legs, and we wasn't going to be able to do it in a small indoor area.
Just before we finish, I saw at the weekend Dover say they're furloughing their staff and their players. How concerning is that's a National League team that have come out and said that's what they're going to do, and they might not be, or it looks like they won't be able to fulfil their fixtures at the moment?
Anything like that's concerning, and more concerning for the actual club and the supporters that have supported it for many years. So, at times like this, you've really got to make sure that the financial side of each club being able to continue and not fold has got to be a priority. So everything else is above my pay grade as far as who's going to do what and how it's going to dictate the season. But if the chairman of Dover feels that that's his only option, then obviously it's up to the powers to be that decide what goes next.
And I know we've touched on this a lot recently, apologies for asking it again, but with that in mind and what they've said, I also saw a reporter, one of the BBC reporters, put out a table that suggested the voting was closed, the public voting, and what he believed, the votes that were already public from the teams, and what he felt other teams might vote. It feels like it's going to be very close. Does the closeness concern you?
I've got to be honest, I really haven't paid too much attention, and that's not me being not caring or being flippant about it. It's out of my control, and it could affect the way I go about my work. So for the time being, my attitude is, unless I'm told otherwise, I'm focusing on trying to get this team through Saturday, Tuesday for the rest of the season, and somehow maintain our form and have a promotion push whilst trying to get to a final of a cup, and sort of try and enjoy that and embrace that until I'm told otherwise. And that's not me sort of not caring about it. It's not. I just think anything out of my control is not worth worrying about until I get told otherwise.